Alrighty, we are on Chav Hamid Bays. Oh, we got a great shayla. The Gemara just asked. The Gemara wanted to know when they would do a pious, was that were there taka only four piouses, or were there four times when they did a pious? But for each avodah that was done, they did another pious. That was the shayla of the Gemara.
Four times during the day.
Four times during the day there was a gathering for
Right.
pious. Now, did they just do four, and whoever won that one, all the other avodas just went on to the right? So let's say, and by the pious Hasheni, where 13 people were zeich in the pious Hasheni. So this got the guy who won, so he gets to do the first, and then the rest go around, or did a pious for each one. That's the shayla of the Gemara. So we brought right yesterday. The Gemara brings another raya.
Right?
Tashima.
13 on
Exactly right. Exactly. Tashima. Rabbi Yehuda says, Loi hoya pious lemachta. Now the third pious, which we didn't learn about yet, is the pious for the Keteris. So there are two parts of the Keteris. You needed someone to shovel the coals off of the Marach, the Mizbeach HaChitzon, and bring them in to the Mizbeach HaPnimi, and then someone else would have the Keteris and put the Keteris onto those coals. So if Yehuda says, Lo Yehoya pious lemachta, there was no pious, individual pious for the shoveling, Elakoyin Shazach HaKeteris, the one who won the Keteris, Oimer Lazesh Imai, he says to the person with him, Zakei mi b'machta, no, you'll take the machta. Oh, so what do you see from here? That there was no individual pious. It's very clear there was no individual pious for the machta. This was done. This was done. That means there was only four piouses, and it wasn't an individual pious for each separate avodah. That's what the Gemara says. Answers the Gemara. Shani machta uketayres dechada avoidehi. Maybe dafka here there wouldn't be two piouses because this is really one avodah. So it makes sense to do it like this. But by aval shar avodas, by pious, maybe other avodas, taka do need a pious. Says the Gemara, a machta itzrachalei. Sakada that you would have thought. I would have thought to say, listen, machta doesn't happen very often. They only did the keteris twice a day, not like other karbanis, which there are lots of karbanis brought every day. Uma'atra, and it makes you rich, not only bringing the keteris, but putting the machta also. So nitkan lapayis, if that's what I would think, it should get its own payis. Kamash malan, that's why Rabbi Yehuda comes to tell me that loy haya payis lamachta. There was no pious of the machta, but it's gan shayach that for other avodas there was a pious. Now, you read this raya. Start again. Tashma Rabbi Yehuda Omer loy haya pious lamachta. Well, it sounds like Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on somebody, right? He's saying that there was no pious for machta. Well, it sounds like the Tanakam holds that there was a pious for the machta. Now, if the Tanakam holds that there was a pious for the machta, so then we'd have a raya that there was a pious for each individual avodah. So why does the Gemara bring a raya from the Tanakama? Taisus is kasha. Top Taisus Tema. My Maisi Rabbi Yehuda. What do you bring a raya from Rabbi Yehuda? Leisi mitana kanama ifcha. Let's bring a raya the opposite way from the Tanakama Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. First teretz. V'yeshalai. Taisus answers to Hachi Maisi. Dafilu Tanakama loy polaga le ela beketoires mishum v'leishchichu ma'atra avu ba'alma moide. The reason why we wouldn't bring a raya is because we have a svara why you would specifically do a pious by the machta, because it wasn't shriach and it would make you rich. So that's why I would hear why the Tanakama would say this specifically by the Ketairis. But even he would agree that by Shar Avodas you wouldn't do it. So there'd be no raya from the Tanakama, the opposite way that we'll bring from Yehuda. Okay, bring some other tourism too, but we'll stop with that one. Zak the Gemara, Vaiter.
I think I lost us on the original question. The Mishnah started off, or the Mishnah rather ended off with Pais Hayushan. Is that Pais Hayushan? So what am I missing here between how the Mishnah
Okay,
and
so I
Pasuk
should have started
before
again
and how we're-
from Chafei Amud Aleph, the bottom of the page. The Gemara asks a shayla. Yiboilu kishem mefaisen la'avoda achas mefaisen oidel l'chol avoda v'avoda mefaisen. They do a pious, one pious, and or 5 pious a day, or 4 pious a day, or they do a pious for each individual avoda that was going to be done. So, the Gemara, what do you mean? The Mishnah says Abra Paises Hayisham. There were only 4 lados, so obviously they only did 4. So the Gemara says correct. Maybe when it says Abra Paises, it means 4 zmanim of pious. There were 4 times when everybody gathered, and they did more than 1 pious. They did a pious for every avodah. So now they want to bring a raya. You see that for the Keteris, they didn't do a separate individual avodah for the Machta. They only did a pious for the one who was Machta the Keteris. That would be a raya that you don't do it for each individual avodah. The Gemara says it's not a good raya because it's one avodah. I missed the line over there.
One avodah. Why doesn't one Kohen do the whole thing?
So that's a good shayla. It's possible that he could, and he could bring some along with him. Could be. And that's why it wasn't another schus. Or because it's just one avodah. It could be. Yeah, that's. I think that's the. I think that's the pashtus. I read the Gemara wrong. I didn't realize I skipped a word there. The Gemara says, "Iked da amri." There's another way to say this. Dafka machtu keteres l'chad avodah al sharva is by pais and machtu itzrulei. The Gemara had to tell you dafka machtu doesn't get a pais because like that the chamina of a sheikh ma'asher nitkin the pais and that's my commercial that it doesn't get it. Okay, now the Gemara brings another raya. Toshma. The Tani Reb Chia. Here we got a mefurish brayso. Reb Chia taught loy kol avodah mevaizin. You don't do a separate individual pais for each avodah. El kain shezacha betamid, the kain who was zeicha in the carbon tamid, shnei masar achiv hakehanim nimshachem imay. The 12 other kahanim just flow from him. And Rashi says you go to his right. Whoever wins, the man to the right of him gets the next one, and it goes for another 12 people. Shmamina, that's a raya from Reb Chia, Brisa, that you only do 4 paisas, and the person who gets it wins, and then you go on from him. Okay. That is the pais. Says the Gemara. Pais Hasheni. The pais Hasheni was for the shchita. It starts off with shchita, and then it goes to zrika. Now, there are a few things in between shchita and zrika. There was Kabbalah, Halacha, and then zrika. So the Gemara wants to know who did the next part. Says the Gemara, Ibailu. Mi Makabel. Who does the Kabbalah Saddam? Sheikhet Makabel. Do you have the Sheikhet be Makabel Adam? Di Amrit Zerik Makabel? Because if you're going to have the person being Zeriket, Aviv Chavivuse Loy Makabel Lekule Dam. We're concerned he's going to be so excited to do this Rika, he's not going to wait around to collect all of the dam from the Behema, and all of the dam is necessary. Okay.
If he's doing the shkita, how can he even collect it down?
What do you mean? Did we have this already?
Huh?
Did we have that already?
We have by the Kohen Gadol with Shecht Reiv Simanim and then be Makabel Adam.
Right,
So there's a way to do it.
Does part.
There's a way to do it. Oidilma Zayrik Makabel. You should have the Zayrik be Makabel. Now he doesn't say your svara. The Gemara says the Amrit Sheikhet Makabel, because if you can have the Sheikhet be the Makabel, Zimnin the Sheikhet Zar. A Zar is a kasha to do shchita. So if a Zar would do shchita, and we're going to have a kohen now do the Kabbalah. And that's going to get tricky because we don't always have that kohen do the Kabbalah. So therefore we say, light plug, let's not mess around with that, and therefore we'll always have the Zayrik do the Kabbalah, not the Sheikhet. So that's the Shaila. Okay. Says the Gemara, Toshma. Ben Katin was a Kohen Gadol, and he made a renovation in the base in the Kalim and the Kiyar. The Kiyar was where you would wash your hands before he did the avodah, and that originally had two spouts. Ben a cotton asa yud beis dud lekir. He made 12 spouts for the kir. Why? Kadesh you yud beis achiv akehanim asukin betamid mekachin yodein v'raglein bevasachas. This way, all the 12 kahanim that were about to do the avodah will be able to wash their hands at the same time.
What is this number 12? Meaning, in theory, for a mishmar, you could have had like a ton more.
No, we have for the carbon tamid.
There's 12 people specifically.
We mentioned in the Mishnah yesterday there were 12 different, or 13 really, 13. There were 13 kahanim that were zeicha in the carbon tamid to be isaac in the carbon tamid.
Because just stammer because there was each like a different role to play.
They had roles. The one would be sheikhed, one would be zayrik, one would be medash lemizbech hapnimi, one would be medash lemenaira. Then they'd bring up the Ibarim. There were 9 people bringing up the Ibarim. No, we understand. We got that.
So 12 or 13 from a given mission.
No, 13 for a Tamid.
13
Oh, that's the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara. So, says the Gemara, V'isakadai the Sheichet Mikabel. Now, if it was the Sheichet that was being Mikabel the Dam as well, so then Tleiser Have, meaning, the person doing shechita did not have to wash his hands because it's not an avodah. It could be a zar to do the shechita. Nachon? So now, 1 second though, if the sheichet was also mekabel the dam, well, to do be mekabel the dam, then it's already an avodah that you need to do kiddush yadayim v'raglayim from the kiyar. So then you should have 13 spouts. Elulav shmami no, Zerik Mekabel, shmami no. Now we have a good raya that it's the Zerik that's Mekabel the dam, not the sheikhet. Otherwise, he should have made 13 spouts, so everybody could go wash be Mekash Yadayim V'Raglayim from the kiyar, not just 12. That's interesting. That's an interesting exact, right? That the sheikhet didn't have to be Mekabel the dam. They didn't have to do Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim before he shechted. Okay? Even if a kohen's doing it. Since it's a avodah that's kosher bizarre, you don't have to do Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim. So Memela, the sheichet doesn't have to wash his, doesn't have to do that. That's an interesting thing, right? The guy who wins the lotto is really doing an avodah that's kosher bizarre. Right? The pious is to do shechita. Everybody else just moves on from the sheichet. The sheichet himself doesn't. Didn't have to be a kohen. Okay. Says the Gemara. We have a Mishnah that says this as well. If the sheichet shecht and the one receiving the blood gets the blood, and then he comes to do the zrika shmamina. So you see mefurish in this Mishnah in Tamid that the sheichet and the makabel were 2 different individuals. So we see from here that it was the zayrik that was makabel. Gevaldik. Okay, nice. Says the Gemara Vayter. Now, in terms, we're now going to discuss what was the procession, I guess we can call it that, of the Ivarim that went on to the Mizbeach. What was the order? And we have the 3-way machlokes, the order of the Ivarim. Our Mishnah has it as, I want to clarify one thing. It starts off with the Reish and the Regel. So I said yesterday that the Regel was the front leg. That's incorrect. The Regel is the right hind leg. That went together with the Reish. That's always going to go together with the Reish, and that'll be the last Gemara on this Amud. We'll explain why that is. Shtei Yadayim are the front 2 legs. The Uketz is the tail. The Haregel is the left leg. Hachaza is the chest. The Hagera is the throat or neck, including some of those organs. Shtei Defanis are the 2 sides of the animal. Kerbayim are the intestines. Seilus is the flour for the mincha, chavitim, the minchas chavitim, yayin, and the yayin for the nisach hayayin. Okay. Zok the Gemara. And then we had Amar Ben Azai, Rabbi Akiva. Ben Azai said that you should bring it derech hiluchai. The way you should bring it onto the mizbech is the way an animal walks. So let's see how this plays out. Ton Rabban. Ketzad derech hiluchai. What does that look like? So he says, Harosh v'regel. The Rosh and Regel, that's again, the head is first. Regel is the back right leg. And that's either because maybe that's the first leg the animal moves when it walks, or because it's got to go together with the Rosh, as we'll see in the Gemara later. Hachoze v'hagera. So that's already different than what we saw in the Mishnah, because here the chaza and the gera are going first, and only after that you get the two front legs, the shtei yadayim, ushtei defanos, ukitz v'regel. Okay, that is derech hiluchai. At the being ukitz is the tail, and the regel is the left hind leg. That goes last. Rabbi Yosi says the way you should bring it up onto the mizbech is derech hefshetei, the way you would skin the animal. The way you would skin it, that is the way you would bring it. Okay, it's derech havshetei. So first you get the rosh and the regel. Then you have the oikitz v'haregel. You start, I guess, with the tail and the left hind leg. Ushtei defanis. Then you got the two sides. Ushtei yadayim, the two front legs. Hachaza v'hagera. And then last is the chaza, the chest, and the gera, the neck. Derech nituchai hayakarev. You would actually bring it the way you would cut it up. And how is that? Keitza derech nituchai. You have harosh v'haregel. You start with that first. Everybody agreed to that. Then you have the shtei yadayim. Then you have the two front legs. Then hachaz v'hagera. Ushtei defanes v'uketz v'haregel. Okay. We have another opinion. I didn't realize. Rabbi Yisrael Glili Aimer derech iluyai. The way it's sold, not sold, but the more chashiv things first. So hayakar ketza derech iluyai. Ilui is what's more chashiv. Harosh v'haregel, hachaza v'hagera, ushtei defanes v'uketz v'haregel, ushtei yadayim. So the last he has are the two front legs. Now, is he going up in value or down? Yeah, he's Rashi says the muvchar is kaidim, the best thing first. So, in fact, the Gemara is really shtei yadayim is last. Vaksiv. The pasuk says, "Kol natach toiv yarach v'kasev." The best part of the animal is the thigh and the shoulder. So that would be to have the shtei yadayim to be first. Now Rashi learns that it's just a kasha from Alma Yerech Mali Mikasif. You see that the thigh is better than the shoulder. Okay. And that the Gemara says that is true, but only by a pekachusha, by a shvacha animal, a weak animal, kachush. Then the Yerech, the thigh, is better than the shoulder. Okay. Says the Gemara, Amarava, Bain Tana Didan, whether you go according to our Tana, Ubain Rabbi Yossi, and that's the Rabbi Yossi, Basar Iluya, the Bisra Azlina. We're looking for the most expensive parts, and that goes first. Rashi says 3 lines from the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom. Tana Didan Halach Acher Iloi Goydel Ha'ivarim. It goes by the size of the limbs. Rabbi Yossi Halach Acher Iloi Hashamin, by the size of the which one was more fatty. Yeah. Now, Amar Bein Tanik Damin Rabbi Yossi Basar Iluya de Bisra Azlina. Mar Azal Basar Ivra de Bisra. Mar Azal Ivra Basar Shamna de Bisra. So our Tana holds you're following the size of how meaty it is, and the other one saying, I guess, quality wise, I guess quantity versus quality. My time is now good. My time is loka regel bahadi reisha. What's the pshat that the regel, which is the right hind leg, why is that they're going together with the head? Says the Gemara Mishum the narration of Fishi Be'atzamis. The head has lots of bone. So therefore, which is not so bakavadik to bring because bone doesn't really burn much. It's not a geshmaka piece to burn. So therefore, cover regel ba'adei, you brought a leg with it as well. Now, the Kuli Almami is a Reish Karberesha. Everybody agrees that the Reish, the head, was brought first. Minola. So where do we get that from? The Tanya, the Brisa. Minayin l'roish upader shekodim al kolevar. Where do we get that the roish and the pader? That's like the fat, I think, that covers it. So where does that comes first? Talmud Leimer as roishay v'es pidrei v'arach. So it says in the pasuk as roishay v'es pidrei v'arach. And then you set it up. V'idach pader achrina l'may asa. So there's another pasuk that says that's a nechasim as a roish v'es a pader. So there you have nesach and the pieces that are cut up. Then you have the roish and the pader l'may asa. So it's one of the kedetanya. Kate said, "Haya oisa neisin as a pader abeis hashchita umaleyu mizav derech covered shomala." You'd want to cover over the beis hashchita, so you'd use the pader to cover over the beis hashchita. Rashi explains the kasha. Take a look at the top of the page. L'may asa ha'apim b'chal hanachasim. The pasuk says you bring everything that's cut up and the reish and the pader. So why are you repeating them? The bishlam arosh dashin alay b'shchilas chul and the itzach lefishin emar v'hifshid v'archay ainli b'chlal aricha ala nisachim shem b'chlal hefshid minayin l'rabbi says harosh shekvar hutaz b'shchita v'haya b'shas hefshid hamalemer es harosh. So I need to bring the reish because it wasn't skinned. Elas peder b'chlal mufshatin v'lamay ksiva. So what does it have to write the pader for? So that tells you that you use the pader to cover over the beis hashchita. Derech kavod lefi beis hashchita meluchluch b'dam hareish. The beis hashchita was bloody, so you wanted to cover that over. So you use the pader to cover over the reish. All right, we'll continue with the next Mishnah. Mitzvah Shem.